Howdy-o, novies. We're in for a treat today. What are we doing? Well, we're gonna learn how to can stuff. Let's go. Let's cook something. I forgot to tell you, we're also in for a treat. Because the reason we're doing this beginner canning video is because we had one of our novies ask us to learn how to do it. So that's what we're gonna do. And as you can see, we're here at the VIP Brandon's house. And who's gonna be learning how to can? Well, his better looking half. So, without any further ado, let me introduce you, the fabulous Brittney! Hi, Brittney. So, Brittney came up to us, actually through Brandon. Brandon said, Brittney wants to learn how to can. So I said, I know how to can. So she went out and actually got a lot of the stuff she needs, started learning a little bit, and she just wanted me to go through it with her and make sure she was doing it right.
So that's what we're gonna do.
Oh, let's start with the basics. You've got two different ways you can can. One is a water bath, which is a big old pot.
Okay.
You basically submerge jars in there, cover them with water, boil them for a little while, and that's mainly used for fruits, pickled stuff, anything that's high acid, you can get away with that. But what you picked out that you want to do is baked beans, right?
Yep.
Depending on what you got in there, but because we're adding meat, we need to take it a step further.
Okay.
And that step further is, ta-da, ta-da! Look at this. She got herself a spanking brand new, shiny canner with one of these little spinny things on it and a gauge. And this is called a pressure canner. And that's what we're gonna use. All right, now that we got that stuff out of the way, you've got some other stuff that we're gonna need to use. I've noticed a box of PC parts.
Yeah.
Where is that? Let's look at what's in there. Ta-da, ta-da! This is your basic six-piece canning kit. It's got all the stuff in there you need. A couple things you might not need.
Got a jar opener wrapper.
You got some tongy dongies for doing stuff.
You got a jar grabber for getting them out of the canner.
You got your funnel. You got your little doing the hickey here. This is a dual function, Brittney.
Ooh.
These are notches for your headspace, for checking on the side of your jars. And then this side is you put it in there and we'll go over that later, but it's to get all your air and stuff out of the jars.
Oh,
because if there's air in the jars, it's not going to process right. Okay. And last but not least, this is my favoriteest tool. You know what that is?
It's a magnet.
It's a magnet. It's for getting your lids out of the hot water when you're putting them on the jars.
So you don't have to burn yourself?
So you don't have to. Cool beans. All right. Get rid of that.
Let's see what we're gonna need over here. Maybe we'll keep that for now. Keep that for now. Put those aside for now.
Let's see. Next thing's next. What size jars did you decide that you want to use?
We have pints.
You have pint jars?
Yes.
Perfect. That's like 2 servings, 1 full serving for lunch, depending on how hungry you are.
Right?
Perfect. That is one thing that's also key about this is the size of the jars you use is depending on how long you process them for.
Okay.
Smaller jars don't have to process as long. Bigger jars, you do.
Makes sense.
There you go. You stay in the shot. You jealous you're not in it?
I think so.
I do believe. So anyway, you decided to make pork and beans. So let's get our shot set up and we're gonna get ready to make pork and beans, and that's gonna be on you. And then we'll pick it up from there. Hey Brittney, what you got going on over here?
I am rinsing some beans. So they're all nice and rinsed. And then we're gonna dump them in my pot and soak them.
Beautiful. Get them soaking. Now normally when you cook beans, you know, you can soak them overnight so we get soft and stuff like that. But because we're using a pressure canner and we're cooking them in here, they don't need to get cooked all the way. They're gonna get cooked in the jars in here. So there you go.
So we're gonna boil these for about 15 minutes.
And we got our little recipe here. I'll have Brittney send me this file and we'll post it so you can see what it is. We're not going to do everything because we're using bacon instead of what do they normally, salt pork?
This recipe calls for half bacon and half ham.
Half ham. But we're using all bacon because bacon's better. So I take it the recipe calls for 1 whole onion.
1 whole onion.
Choppy dip. That there so you can see it. How many jars does this make, does it say?
12 pints.
12 pints, okay. I don't sanitize because it's a brand new jar.
So, I've been reading, a lot of people apparently nowadays are saying you don't have to sanitize them because it sterilizes it in the cooking process.
Yeah, it does.
How do you feel about that? What are your thoughts?
Actually, let's talk about that. We were just discussing whether we're gonna sterilize jars or not. And we're using brand new jars. My theory is, this is a brand new jar. It's clean from the factory. First time use, if we're going into a pressure canner, I don't sterilize. I'll put the lids in hot water because that softens the seal around it, and that's mainly why you do that. But as far as the jars go, if it's brand new in the box, I don't do it. Don't tell, that's rebel canning. All right, Brittney, how much bacon you using?
We have 2 pounds.
2 pounds of bacon. You're just gonna cut it up in pieces.
Just cut it into nice chunks.
There you go.
And throw it in the pan. Someone needs to sharpen these knives.
Someone can't hear you, he's gaming. Alright, so that's been what, about 10-15 minutes? Boiling on the beans?
About 10 minutes.
10 minutes. Now we're gonna fry up this bacon, render down some fat. And do the same with the onions. Get them all brown and beautiful.
We're gonna do 8 cups of water.
And this is the liquid portion of it.
Yes.
Put that together while this stuff cooks up and browns up. 8 cups of water. Mm-hmm.
1 cup brown sugar. Half cup of apple cider vinegar with half cup of maple syrup.
Good. Alright, we were about to put how much ketchup? 2 cups of ketchup?
2 cups.
But we kind of ran out of ketchup. So we were talking about it, and we were thinking maybe tomato sauce. But we decided on some Sweet Baby Ray's. That'll make it yummalicious. That'll give us our 2 cups. Improvise, people. You can do it. It does kind of look gross. It'll be yummy when we're done, though. It's starting to brown up and mash it. What you got going on there?
Half cup of molasses.
Sweet!
Good old Brer Rabbit. 1 tablespoon of garlic powder. Tablespoon of salt. 2 teaspoons pepper.
Yeah.
2 tablespoons of ground mustard. And the best stuff ever, liquid smoke.
Hey guys, if you're liking this video, make sure you smash that like button. And double check, make sure you're still subscribed. And if you're not, go ahead and smash that one too. It doesn't cost you nothing. Don't forget to leave your comments down on the bottom.
Alright, now we're gonna bring it to a boil. Get that all mixed around.
There's one other thing that could really help us out. It ain't gonna cost you a cotton pea picking dime. Not even a penny. Share. If you care. Thanks a lot for doing that. I know. Get back to the video.
We're trying to scrape all the yummy goodness off the bottom of this pan. Not the greatest pan for that. But we'll do our best. Alright. Now, how many beans we adding?
5 whole cups.
On how many beans? Did you know?
More than 5.
More than 5.
I think we might need a bigger pan.
We might. Well, this is coming up to your burrow. You can do it.
Don't lose the beans.
Not a single bean will be lost. Not a single bean was harmed in the filming of this video. Alright, Nomies, while we're waiting for this to come up to burrow, we're going to get our canner set up. Now, I'm sure, Brittney, that you've read all of these warning labels 3 or 4 times. You have them memorized.
100%. Yep. Done that.
And this one. Not this one.
Yeah. Yep.
Alright, cool. We're set then. Alright.
No, in multiple languages. We're good to go.
Look at this beautiful, shiny, brand new American canner. Now, let's talk about canners for a second. I've talked about them before, but there's generally 2 different types. You have your American, which has no seal. It's billet aluminum on billet aluminum, so it makes its own seal. And then you have the Presto version and a couple other different brands that they actually have a gasket around there, which are fine, they work great, but you always got to make sure you have an extra gasket on hand because they go bad, especially if you do a lot of canning. And you don't want to be stuck canning without a gasket because it ain't going to work. The other thing you got to remember, Brittney, on these pressure canners here is these gauges right here. In the book, they say every year you're supposed to have them checked out. If you're not canning a lot, you can go every couple years, every 3 years.
Okay.
But if you are using your canner quite a bit, which I do, you know, I can on most of my stuff, then you want to take this into a place called the Extension Office, which every state has a university extension office that's tied to their state university, and they have great information on canning. They'll test your gauges for you. They do stuff with gardening and put out all kinds of cool information. So it's something you're good to look up. Every state has it. Look up your local extension office for all kinds of good info. So, well, let's come up the board. We're going to get this thing ready. We got some heat on there. Take this lid off for now. Now, Brittney, what we want to do is we're going to add some water in here because steam is going to force out the air and make the pressure that we need to do this whole entire process. Now these cans do, or jars, but cans do not need to be completely submerged. You only need enough water in here to do the process that you're doing. So let's get about 2 inches of water in here and start bringing that up to heat.
All right.
Nomies, don't forget to add a couple tablespoons or so of white vinegar to your water. Keeps the mineral deposits from forming on the jars during the process. we forgot. You'll see what that looks like at the end. That's probably good right about there. Beautiful. Now, we'll bring this up everybody. Okay, Brittany, what's the next step?
Fill our jars.
Sweet. We got them all lined up and ready here. We got our lids back there, getting on the barrel. So what's the process?
So we're going to fill the jars 2/3 full of the bean and bacon mixture. I'm going to switch to my ladle.
Now we are doing what's called a hot pack method, which is all your stuff's nice and hot. Get into a barrel, that's nice and hot. Gives you a nice head start on the canning process itself. You can do cold pack with lots of stuff like raw meats and stuff like that, but generally stuff like stews and beans and stuff like this, it's all hot packed. Now I'm not sure if the instructions told you this or not, but the reason they want you to only fill these 3/4 of the way full is because these beans aren't cooked yet. And when these beans cook, they're going to swell up. So if you put too much in the jar, it ain't going to work, lid's going to pop, you get a mess. You're right then.
I think the first one is more like half full. Now I look at it a little lower.
Well, these ball jars, I usually use the curd jars, but I've noticed these ball jars, they have measurements on the side of them.
They do?
So each one of them's 2 cups up to the rim here. So that might be a little easier for you to figure out.
I think we have about half and half. Curd jars and ball jars.
Okay.
You know, I thought this said it was for 12 pints. Looks like a lot more than 12 pints.
Yeah. See, that's me only half.
That's half, so
Yeah.
we need less.
I'm thinking,
Where's my spoons?
no, you need, if it's half, you need more. If you need two-thirds of the way. 2/3 of the way. I'd bring it-
2/3.
Yeah.
I'm doing 1/3,
Yeah.
Dave.
Bring it up to this line right there. See that little line right there?
Uh-huh.
That's 10 ounces.
It helps if you get it through your brain the right measurement.
Well, it's like when they started selling 1/3 pound hamburgers,
Everyone was thinking it was less.
everyone thought it was less. And they wanted 1/4 pound. So we give the people what they want.
You know, Dave, 1/3 is the same as 2/3, right?
Yes.
Who needs math?
Yeah, they also told us we never have a calculator in our hands 24/7. They did promise me flying cars, and I ain't seen one yet.
I like how they promise flying cars, but calculator in your pocket?
Yeah.
Nope, not a chance. All right, let's see how we did.
No better?
Well, better.
I think this one here needs a little bit more. And that one there maybe needs a little bit more. But whatever.
Well, Dave, you're the expert, so we'll go with what you say.
Maybe a little one just spread out between the rest. Should be good. And then we'll find out in the end how we again.
Okay.
Beautiful. Alright, get that mess out of the way. We are going to need that funnel still.
Alright, so where's our 1-inch headspace gonna be?
1-inch headspace. The camera here will show everybody. 1-inch headspace. Here's your 2-cup line. This right here you can use, let's see, that's 1 inch right there. So it is right there between that line and that line. About 1 inch is right with it. Just underneath that top ring.
Okay.
Again, hot liquid, hot stuff in jars. Fill it up. That's getting hot. Everything's hot, hot, hot. Perfect. Yep, just underneath that line. I'm wrong for that. Brittney was asking, is it better to have air on the side of more or less in the jars as it comes to headspace? I was telling her less because if you put too much in there, you might pop your lids and have a failure. If you don't put enough in there, it's going to work every time. But in my experience, what we're doing with this should be just right. But we're going to find out. Now what we're doing now is making a cleaning solution for the rims of our jars. It's basically just like a tablespoon or 2 of vinegar and then some water. And what that'll do is that'll cut any kind of grease or anything that's on the rims and make sure that they do a proper job of sealing.
Now Dave, what's our ratio of?
Vinegar to water?
Yes.
A little bit of vinegar, a little more water. I don't know.
Real scientific around
Real
here.
scientific. We just know it works. Yeah, that's pretty good. Like I said, the vinegar is mainly to cut any grease or anything just in case you spilled. But you did a pretty good job. Alright, paper towel. We'll wipe these rims off. Alright, we're getting all the rims cleaned up. Beautiful. Alright, I'm going to show you this on the first one, Brittney.
Okay.
Basically, I take my magnet. I'm going to go back here. I got a pot back there because these are really hot. And you don't want to touch these because if you touch them and you got dirty hands, it's going to make them nasty. You can touch the outside. Put it on there. Put your ring on there. I go just till you feel it snug up and then back just a tiny bit. You want it sealed, but you don't want it completely tight because what's going to happen in here is the pressures are going to make a vacuum inside the jar and suck all the air out. Air kills your food. Get the air out, food stays preserved for year upon year upon year. So that's what we're doing. We want to make sure it's tight enough to let the air out, but also loose enough to let the air out, tight enough to seal.
Okay.
So that's that. It's all you, girl. Another thing, I generally, once I do one, I'll get it out of the way and just put it in the canner.
Thank you.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Oh, not too tight.
And then back off.
Yep.
And in we go.
First row filled in, then we'll get back to you.
Alright, we got our first layer in here. You want to make sure you get enough in there that none of them are touching, but it completely fills up the canner. And then once you have that, these canners generally come with racks. See, that rack fits perfectly on there, and then we can put the rest of our jars in. Alright guys, we've got our stuff in there all stacked up. Make sure our jars aren't touching anywhere. And Brittney, the main thing with this is the first time we're going to use this. So once we set it on there in the position it's going to be in, that's where you're going to want to put it all the time.
Okay.
It's easy to recognize though, because you've got an arrow there. Can you see that?
Yep.
And then you've got a notch right there.
Okay.
So basically what you want to do is you want to line up that arrow with that notch. I'll show everybody here a little bit better. So there's your arrow and your notch all lined up. And then the next thing you want to check is when you're flipping these things up is you want even spacing all around here. See how it's up there and it's close over here? You want to make sure that that's the same spacing all the way around, especially this first time we're going to use it, because once this heats up, it's going to set it in that spot. But once you line it up in the same spot every time, it's going to work every time. All right, so let's have you, flip all those up.
Oh.
Now what we're going to check is our spacing right here. It looks like it's a little tighter in the back. So one thing we can do is we can loosen these up in the back, tighten this down in the front until we got it to where we like it. A little bit more. Loosen these up a little bit and tighten that down a little bit. Now that's pretty much even. You think? How's it look?
Looks good to me.
Looks good to me too. Alright, let's just go ahead and we want to make these snug. We don't want them too tight, but make sure they're all tight. So you want to feel those so you...
Okay.
Yeah.
Those are definitely snug.
Uh-huh. Then, what we want to do, crank up the heat. Now once this is going, you don't want to move this thing. You want it in a place that it's going to be for, how long did the instructions say?
75 minutes.
75 minutes. Now that is per your recipe, correct?
Correct.
So people, every time you're doing something with especially the pressure canner, it's very important that you follow the times and temperatures of the recipe that you're doing. This one, she got off the internet and it says what it is. 75 minutes. So, and that is 75 minutes after this comes up to proper pressure. How many pounds?
Now, it does not say how many pounds.
Does not say how many pounds.
So how do we find that out?
It's in my head. 10 pounds. It's got meat with our elevation that we're at. If we were above a mile high or like in a mountainous range, we'd want to up it to 15 pounds, but because we're close to sea level, we want 10 pounds of pressure.
Okay.
Which corresponds on the meter here and also on our little weight here. But we don't want to put this on until we see a head of steam coming out of there. Now, one way you can find this out if you're new to this whole canning thing is I highly recommend the Ball Blue Book Guide to Preserving. This is the Bible to learn everything you need to learn besides watching my videos on how to can that you need to know about canning. So if you have any questions and you don't find the recipe that you're trying to do in here,
Find something that's similar with similar ingredients, follow those temperatures and times, and you'll be just perfect.
now another great book to have that you want to hold on to is the book that came with the canner over here, your All-American Pressure Canner and Cooker. This has a lot of basic recipes in it. Tells you what all your stuff is. Again, basic instructions, not as user-friendly as the Ball Blue Book. It talks about packing jars. And then most of all, it gets into here with your tomato sauces, your whole stuff, let's see, whole tomatoes, all your times and temperatures according to your elevation. So this is more of a technical book. That's why you want to hold on to this, because this will also answer any questions you have.
It's important. You don't want to mess this part up.
All right, Brittany, we want to make sure that we got a head of steam coming out of here for 10 minutes. Now you can do what your lovely husband Brandon did and burn himself. Or you can take a glass to the lower top of here, and you can see that steam coming out there pretty good. Nice and steady. So we want to let that do that for about 5 or 10 minutes, and then we can put our weight on there.
Sounds good.
Boys,
You're not helping.
oh, don't record.
Quiet on the sack.
I look like a hobo.
You too.
You are a hobo.
I am a, no, I'm a nombo.
You're a hobo.
Anyway, this has been steaming for about 10 minutes, so we're going to put this on there and see where the 10 is right there. It's going to come up to 10 pounds of pressure. There should be a little hole underneath it, and that's what you want to put right on top of that and just set it. And it'll do its thing. And this pressure will start to come up. And once this gets up to about 10 pounds, that'll start going rattly tat tat. We can turn our temperature down a little bit, and then we set our timer for how long?
75 minutes.
That's it. We'll get back to you. Starting to go ratty-tat-tat. It hit 10 pounds. So what we're going to do, Brittany, is we're going to turn this down. It doesn't need to be near as high as that is, just onto a simmer. If this goes down or that stops doing that, adjust the heat a little bit. But it doesn't even need to make noise. You mainly need to keep an eye on your gauge here. It'll stay at 10 pounds. Let me go a little higher. And then set your timer for
75 minutes.
an hour and 15. Now I was just telling Brittany we better double check ourselves as far as pressures and times go. I don't know if you can see this or not, but we're looking at a chili con carne recipe, which is similar, beans and meat and sauce. And you want to do a hot pack, pint-sized jars for 75 minutes. So the only thing her recipe didn't talk about was the poundage. And as you can see on here, hopefully, you got anything under 1,000 feet of elevation, 10 pounds. Anything over 1,000 feet, you want 15 pounds of pressure. And that's for most of your meat products. Usually 10 pounds, and then depending on what it is, how much meat's in there, is how much time you put in there. Also, whether it's pint jars, quart jars. Bigger jars, more time. Almost done. Turn that all off. Hurry up and wait. Now we got to make sure that you just let this do its thing. You don't want to rush it. You don't want to put water on it to cool it down faster. Let it come down naturally. And when that hits 0, we can open it up.
All right.
Well, guys, it's been what, since about an hour since the timer went off?
Just
About
about.
an hour, yeah. And everything's gone down to 0. Now this is still super hot. You don't want to move it around a bunch because you can break your seals and your stuff. But one thing you can do is, let's see, do we have, yeah, a glove here. Always want to make sure this is absolutely at 0. So Brittany, you can take this little weight right here. And there's a little bit of coming out. But once that's done, it's at 0. You're good to open it up. And that's what we're going to do. The moment of truth. If I can. Thanks, Brandon.
But this is the most dangerous part. But it's just like when you're doing with your Instapot, you know. Once everything comes down to zero, you're A-okay. Alright.
I'm thinking everything's gonna check out good, mainly because I don't smell a lot of it. If you get a broken jar in there, you can smell it. You'll smell the food and everything. So, that's what we're gonna do. Give this one more turn. Always lift away from you, because steam kills. That there for a second, and it's looking so far so good.
They're bubbling.
They're bubbling, and all your tops are done. And top. Grab that jar lifter. Alright, now all you gotta do is you gotta be careful. You don't want to tip them on their side or anything. Just carefully take them out. Line them up on the rack. You get the feel for it. Now you don't want to mess with these too much until they completely cool down. So far the first row looks good. But we had a little tiny bit of leakage. So they were not bad. That'll happen once in a while. Second row. Boy, they all look good. And if you can see it enough, but they are still bubbling. And that's because things boil at lower temperatures under a vacuum. And these are under a vacuum. So they'll boil at a much lower temperature and they'll just sit here and just keep doing it. One thing we forgot to do, and I just noticed that. People who've watched my other videos, they know when I can, what I'll do is I don't just put water in there, I'll put like some vinegar in there with it. Especially when you're on like well water.
Oh, for the hard water.
The hard water, so you'll get mineral. See how that's got a white film on it? Now that'll clean off, but if you throw a splash of vinegar in there, you don't have to worry about cleaning it off. So that's what that prevents. And that's the main reason I had you get that white vinegar. And then we didn't even use it anyway. Yeah. There you go. All right, girl. High five.
Woo!
Done it. Your first cannon.
Success!
Success! You got a good woman there.
I know.
You never change things by fighting the existing reality. To change something, build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete.
I'm a know-me, he's a know-me, she's a know-me, you're a know-me, wouldn't you like to be a know-me?
Put your comment down on the bottom.
Click the subscribe down on the bottom, click the like button,
Down on the bottom.
make a comment,
Down on the bottom.
peace out.